just wanted to come on and do a quick check-in because it has been crazy since the last time I came on. Unfortunately, we bombed Iran, and now we're currently on high alert. We are on high alert right now, according to NBC
Officials are
News.
issuing warnings of possible retaliatory right here at home. Tom Winter joins me tonight. Tom, we just got a new warning in from the State Department. What's it saying?
Right, just as we're coming on the air, the State Department warning all U.S. citizens abroad about potential threats, acknowledging the situation in Iran and the Middle East. Here at home, it's kind of a two-pronged threat, the physical and the cyber. And tonight, law enforcement agencies in multiple cities have stepped up their presence in sensitive sites like houses of worship, cultural centers, and diplomatic sites. The goal is to stop someone who is angered by the war in the Middle East from conducting an attack here. They're also looking for cyber attacks, which could temporarily take a website offline or deface a site. And then there's the concern about people backed by Iran who could already be here. A sleeper cell? Well, in the last several years, law enforcement has charged multiple people in a range of plots tied to Iran, from an attempted assassination on then President-elect Trump to a potential attack against an Iranian activist and journalist here in New York City. It's all.
So there seems to be a little bit of confusion because I think a lot of people were saying, well, the president said he was going to run not on war and he's going to stop the war and he's going to pull out and then he wasn't going to strike and that he was going to give a two-week cool down and figure it out for 2 weeks. But of course, he surprised his enemy and went again and dropped three attacks. And now they're saying, I think Iran has the most cyber capability. They could turn off the power. They could turn off the power. They have so we're on high alert right now. They're saying it could be physical, it could be in person, it could be cyber. Hopefully the power doesn't go off. You don't really know where. And also, they bought in the plane. What is it called? The Doomsday plane. hmm Trump brought the Doomsday plane over to DC. So here it is. The U.S. Air Force Doomsday plane arrived at the Joint Base Andrews Tuesday night, fueling speculation of a potential U.S. role in escalating Israel-Iran crisis. The EB-4 Night Watch aircraft landed at the military facility in suburban Washington, D.C. as speculation grows over potential U.S. military action in Iran. So this is the plane, allegedly, if there's a nuclear bomb, the president can get on it, take off, and he'll be fine. So this was deployed on Tuesday. I don't know, guys. This is a repeat again of Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, going back and forth. There was previously an agreement. There was a significant treaty agreement between Iran and the U.S. in recent times as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran Nuclear Deal. This agreement, finalized in 2015, placed limitations on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. However, the U.S. withdrew in 2018. The purpose of it was to limit Iran's nuclear program to peaceful purpose and prevent it from developing nuclear weapons. Who signed the agreement was Iran, China, France, Germany, Russia, the UK, and the US, and the EU, the European Union. Limited the number of types of centrifuge Iran could operate. Centrifuge, I got tongue twisted. Iran could operate, the level of uranium enrichment, and the size of the enrichment uranium stockpile. The agreement provided for lifting the nuclear-related sanctions on Iran. U.S. withdrawal. The U.S. withdrawal in 2018 and reinstated sanctions on Iran. It's not currently in effect for the U.S. Uranium enrichment. So they said they were getting to 60%. But I also heard it was underground, like half a mile underground. Iran's highly enriched stockpile, uranium enrichment of 60% levels of purity swelled during nuclear talks. So this is the graph from 2021 all the way up to 2022. And as of today, it reached over 60%. However, it was underground, allegedly, half a mile underground. But isn't that the same thing we heard with Iraq? Was it President Bush said Saddam, had weapons of mass WMD, had WMD? The war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. Hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. This new version of the past is no different past can ever have existed. In principle, the war effort is always planned to keep society on the brink of starvation. Let's take a look here at the GDP. So we have the BRICS versus the G7, right? So let me explain really quick what is the GDP. The gross domestic product is the total monetary value of all goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific period of time, usually a quarter or a year. The key points about the GDP measures economic activity. It shows how healthy a country's economy is, includes consumer spending, government spending, business investments, exports minus imports, net exports, does not include black market illegal transactions, volunteer work or unpaid labor, environmental costs. Here's an example. If the US produces 28 children trillion worth of goods and services for the year, the GDP is 28 children. Types of GDP is nominal GDP measures using current prices, not just adjusted for inflation. Real GDP adjusted for inflation to reflect true growth. Per capita GDP. GDP divided by the population shows average income per person. Okay, now let's go back to the chart. Here we go. So we got the BRICS versus the G7. So when I talk about, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, we have race wars, race wars. I don't really think it's a race war. I think it's more of a global, international, financial war. We're having the fall of the great empire. Most empires last hundreds of years, but the American empire is probably the shortest amount of span. What are we, maybe 40 years? So the BRICS is going to be India, China, the UAE, Iran, Russia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, South Africa, and Ethiopia. Those are the BRICS. And it says India has the strongest GDP. No, India has the highest, strongest GDP. Wow, I thought it was China. China's at 4.6. India is 6.8. Whereas the G7 is United States, Canada, Japan, France, Italy, and the UK. And we're having 2.7 gross domestic product. It seems kind of low. I wonder what year this was. I thought we were doing more than that. 2.7. Let me see. Let me look something up. How's everyone doing tonight? Go ahead and hit that like button for me. Thanks. Okay. Most recent estimate for United States gross domestic product was 29.977 trillion. 29 trillion. What is China? 17 trillion. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that graph was a little off. So I guess now with the attacks, well, it's an act of war. We declared war on them. We didn't get permission from Congress. We went over international waters, which means that was illegal. Doesn't seem to be, Congress seems to be standing up to the president, or he's kind of just doing whatever he wants to do. I mean, in 6 months, we already have ICE, we have deportation issues. We now are in another war, and the tariffs. All of that is not helping. So I would recommend stockpile, 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 because I think we're not feeling anything initially because whatever was in inventory in the supply chain is there, but it's going to start to decrease and get lower and lower and lower. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen. So the airstrikes that were on Iran, in recent U.S. airstrikes, there were 3 Iranian nuclear sites have been resulted in casualties in Iran. According to the Iran's health ministry, at least 430 people have been killed and over 3,000 injured in Iran since Israel began its attacks on June 13th. The majority of casualties have been believed to be civilians, including 54 women and children. It's important to note that the U.S. strikes are part of an ongoing conflict, and these casualties figures are estimated based on the information from Iranian authorities. So we had the treaty agreement. We pulled out of it. Trump pulled out of it in 2018, right? Let's see, why did he pull out? Why did Trump pull out of the treaty in 2018? President Donald Trump withdrew from the United States from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the Iran nuclear deal, on May 8, 2018. Claims that the deal was flawed, did not address Iran's ballistic missile program, did not prevent Iran's support for terrorism and proxy militias across the Middle East, contains sunset clauses allowing key restrictions to expire in future years, allowed Iran to retain parts of its nuclear believe Iran was violating the spirit of the deal. Although international inspectors like the IAEA consistently verify Iran's compliance to nuclear terms, Trump said Iran was violating the spirit of the agreement by testing ballistic missiles, funding groups like Hezbollah, and supporting regimes in Syria and Yemen. Desire for a tougher, better deal, Trump claimed that he wanted to pressure Iran into negotiating a stronger, more comprehensive agreement that would permanently restrict Iran's nuclear capabilities, address non-nuclear issues like missile development and regional activities. Domestic and political reasons. Trump had promised during the 2016 campaign to withdraw from the JCPOA, calling it the worst deal ever negotiated. His move aligned with hawkish elements in U.S. politics. Israeli leadership like Prime Minister Netanyahu and some of the Gulf Arab allies who were opposed to the deal. The reposition of sanctions. After the withdrawal, Trump administration reimposed sweeping economic sanctions on Iran, aiming at maximum pressure to force the renegotiation through Iran refused to instead resume parts of its nuclear program. You ever wonder why, since the Cold War, the U.S. has always had interest in the Middle East? You never hear them going after like Africa or Asia or anywhere else. It's always the Middle East. The United States has a strong interest in Israel for several political, strategic, economic, and cultural reasons. Here's a breakdown of the key factors. Strategic and military alliance. Location of Israel is located in the Middle East, a region with high geopolitical importance due to its energy, resources, and political instability. The U.S. sees Israel as a reliable ally in a volatile region. That I agree with. Military cooperation. The U.S. and Israel collaborate on military technology, intelligence, sharing the defense system. The Iron Dome. Counterterrorism. Israel helps the U.S. track and combat terrorist threats in the Middle East. Shared democratic values. Both countries are democracies and shared values like freedom, speech, religious freedom, freedom of speech, and rule of law. The U.S. often frames its support of Israel as supporting a democratic ally in a large authoritarian region. Influence at APAC and other advocacy groups. These organizations influence U.S. policy and help maintain bipartisan support of Israel in Congress. Public support. A significant portion of the American population, especially evangelical Christians and Jewish Americans, strongly support Israel. Historical and moral ties. After the Holocaust of World War II, many of the West felt a moral obligation to support the creation of survival of the Jewish state. U.S. foreign policy has historically supported Israel's right to exist and defend itself. That I agree. Economic and technical partnership. Israel is the leader of tech and cyber security, and the U.S. benefits from innovation partnership. The two countries have trade-free agreement and collaborate in sectors like medicine, agriculture, and defense. Regional influence. By supporting Israel, the U.S. counters the influence of rival powers like Iran, Russia, and China. U.S. military aids Israel and helps to deter threats of hostile neighbors and non-state actors. Didn't Putin tell Trump, "Hey, you run the country. You don't let the country run you. You want to go ahead and drop a bomb? Go right ahead." Unreal. So a lot of times when I hear, okay, we're going to war, first thing I think, oh, we're going to generate. Of course, you think lives are going to perish. You want to pray for peace, but then the next thing, first thing I think about, it generates money. It generates money. If we have storage units full of weapons, aid, boots, uniforms, it's going to be a depreciating asset unless you get rid of this stuff. Eventually, it's going to go bad. So you have to generate money, right? Here's how war generates money. War generates money for certain sectors and actors, even though it causes destruction and suffering overall. Here are many ways war can generate money. Military industrial complex, defense contractors. Didn't didn't the Bush family have some stocks in some of the bombers, right? I think it was the Bush family. I don't remember. Defense contracts make billions supplying weapons, vehicles, automation, and technology. Government also increased defense spending during conflicts, pumping money into companies like manufacture of military goods. There you go. Private military and security firms, companies like Blackwater and others are paid to provide security, logistic, and combat services. These firms often get lucrative government contracts during wars and in post-war zones. Reconstruction contracts. After wars, government and private firms get contracts to rebuild infrastructure, roads, power plants, schools, which can be extremely profitable. U.S. companies earn billions in rebuilding in Iraq and Afghanistan. Look at that right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. U.S. companies like Halliburton have earned billions in rebuilding in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm gonna take off these glasses because these glasses. Let me look up their stock. Halliburton. Is that a construction company? I'm being nosy right now. I want to look up their stock. I'm getting no signal. Hold up, guys. Hold up, guys. Halliburton. That's another thing. I know everybody's gonna be like, "What is the stock market gonna be? Is the stock market gonna go up? Is it gonna go down?" It's all affected, right? Halliburton. Let's give me a basketball player. A basketball player. Halliburton Company is a major provider for products for self-services to the energy industry, specifically focusing on oil, gas exploitation, development, and production. Employs 50,000 employees in 80 countries. I wonder what the stock market is. Energy sector drilling evaluation. So they made billions during Iraq and Afghanistan war. Let me look at their stocks. $22. Stock closed at 22. Natural resources exploitation. Some were for in religious, rich in oils, minerals, or rare earth metals. Control of those resources or securing access for allies can lead to long-term profits for corporations and governments. Currency and stock market activities. Arms manufacturers' stocks often rise during conflicts. Investors sometimes bet on wars outcomes. Commodities like oil, gold may spike, creating speculative profits. War economy, black markets. In war zones, informal markets grow. Arms trafficking, smuggling, looting, illicit trade becoming lucrative for criminal networks and corrupt officials. Debt and lending. Wars often are financed through borrowing, which benefits the major bank bondholders through interest on over repayments. All right, guys. So we just went through who benefits from war, how they make money, who makes the most money, what's going to happen with the stock market, and you're going to have a lot of casualties, right? Of course. What a surprise, surprise, surprise. We didn't think we would get up here and be talking about this today, right? I know I didn't. So we have to wait and see, you know? There's definitely going to be revenge. If you think there's not going to be any revenge with Iran, you're sadly mistaken. It is. It's just, is revenge going to be served cold or is it going to be reserved hot? We are already on high alert, right? They're saying it could be physical, sleeper cells, or cyber. We don't know. Definitely stockpile. Gas is going to go up. Stockpile, get your water, your paper goods, your canned food, whatever you need. We're going to escalate this recession. We're definitely, on a fast train to a recession if we're not in a recession already. I mean, how do you guys feel? Do you feel like, is it a hypocrite? Why are we Israel can have nuclear weapons and we can have and with WMD. Let me say it right. America have WMD. Israel could have WMD, but Iran can't have WMD. Do you agree or disagree? I mean, let me know in the comments. He definitely caught them by the element of surprise. He went up there and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you 2 weeks," and it was more like 2 days. And now we gotta be on high alert. We just invaded their airspace. We didn't go to Congress. We didn't ask any permission. Didn't we pull out of NATO? He pulled out of NATO last term. Did he pull back out again? I don't even remember. It's like a big brother, little brother fight. It's like Israel's the little brother, and we're the big brother, and they can't fight for themselves, so we gotta go over there and fight for them. We don't know how to mind our business. We don't know how to mind our business. Guys, you guys just need to pray for peace. Pray for peace. Peace everywhere. This is crazy. This is crazy, guys. As it says, I'm going to read it again. Let me read it one more time. The war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. The hierarchy society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. This version is the past, and no different past can ever have existed. The principle of war effort is always planned to keep society on the brink of starvation. Should Iran have the right to defend itself? That's really what they're they're Persian, right? They're Persian. Iranian people are Persian. Do the Persian people have the right to defend themselves? I say yes. What do you say? They definitely gonna fight back. I don't think it's a matter of not fighting back, but they're gonna play the long game. We're gonna play the short game because when they talk about those sleeper cells, they could be here 5, 10, 15. They could be your neighbor, your employer, your friend, anybody somewhere that you don't know that's sitting in the cut. And I'm sure we have sleepers overseas too. Oh my God, somebody watching me live, beeping. And then what about all the, it's going to be a problem with importing, exporting. Everything we get is from China. Tariffs are up. We were just getting over the pandemic. It just goes up and down, up and down. 9/11 attack, get over that. Recession, 2007, 2008, crisis, go back down. Okay, now we're getting out of that pandemic, COVID. And then we're going back out. Now, boom, we in another war. We just sitting ducks. We just sitting ducks now. We just supposed to sit there, live in fear, don't know what's going to happen, if you're going to have money, if you're going to have a job, if how much is the gas. When I get up in the morning and I have 2 trucks, how much is it going to cost me to fill up both my trucks? Are you going to be able to drive to work? A lot of people do Uber, what's the other one? Uber Eats, the other one is Instacart. How much people you sitting home? Everybody think they rich. Yeah, I gotta do Instacart and have my groceries. How much they're gonna charge you now to get your groceries? Are gonna go. The groceries are already high because all the immigrants are gone, so there's no one to pick the fruit. Then the cost of the truck to drive it, the price of the gas. You're gonna do Instacart, so all now your food, your groceries on your Instacart is gonna go up because oil. How much is a barrel of oil right now? Come on, guys. Come on. Where you got? Are you guys sleeping? How much is a barrel of oil? $85? I guessed. That was a guess. How much is a barrel of oil today? Barrel cost price of barrel oil. I was not planning to come on here and do this and talk about this. I just kind of like, you know me, guys. I'm a clown. I'm always joking, having fun. I'm a clown. But I'm also, hey, don't get twisted. I'm intelligent. No, because I hee hee ha 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 hoo hee ha. Don't think we can't politic. Talk about talk about what's going on. Okay, hold up. Let me stop joking around. What is the price? What is the price of oil? I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. I was tongue twisted tonight. $75. Okay, I was off by $10. Barrel is $75 today for barrel oil. Let's see what it's gonna be. Let's see where it's gonna go. Let's see where it's gonna go, guys. We're gonna have to sit and wait. Everything you get from China and those tariffs are off. And if China and Russia back Iran, any Americans in China, they better leave. Any Americans at the United Nations overseas, they better leave. All the collateral, they're all gonna be collateral damage. I don't know, guys. Stockpile. That's all I can say. I don't think Iran has the capability to go nuclear on us, but China can, Russia can. I know they're gonna be bombing back to Israel. We're going back and forth, back and forth. Anybody traveling? We on high security, going through the airport. It's gonna be stressful. It's gonna be tense. It's gonna be stressful. You ain't gonna be going through the airport, whoop de whoop, back and forth. We at war, guys. We are at war. WAR. Like I said, the war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. Hierarchy society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. This new version is the past, no different past can ever have existed. The principle of war effort is always planned to keep society on the brink of starvation. And be careful of the media that you get. Social media is cool, but Malcolm X made a statement. Malcolm X was like, the media is the most dangerous thing. I believe it was in his last speech before he was unalive. He said the media can make an innocent man look guilty, and a guilty man look innocent. Right? So think about where you're getting your information from and think outside, the box. I think they have the right to defend themselves. I think we were being a bully. I think he did the opposite of what he says he's going to do because that's how he is. I was not surprised. Gas is going to go up. Stockpile. Get your generators. Crank up your generators. Get your bottled water. Get your canned goods. Get your toilet paper. There's certain states in the Midwest that they grow up with tornadoes. And some people grow up with tornadoes and they have a big barrel, like a big wooden or plastic barrel, and they just stockpile everything they need. So when the tornado comes, they run in the basement and they have it. Get your barrel, fill up your gas, be aware of your surroundings, which we was already kind of had to be, but yeah, this is what it is, guys. This is what it is. Just going through my notes real quick. I was watching the news all day. I should have been doing something better on my Sunday, but trust and believe it was just too hot outside. I was like, I'm not going to be outside, so I was just watching the news. Yeah, we pulled out of that treaty. We tore up that treaty, and now we bombed them, and now we're repeating everything all over again. And it is what it is. Let me know, are we in a financial World War III crisis? You see it right there on the bottom. Now that I explained everything to you about, pulling out of NATO, pulling out of the treaty agreement, the BRICS versus the G7, who has the most GDP? China's got 17 trillion. We're at 29 trillion. The competition. It's a financial war. How are you going to make money off the war? How does war generate money? Which companies are going to make billions, are going to position themselves in the stock market to make billions? Did Iran really have 60% uranium enrichment? Can it be proven? And it's a half a mile underground? Most communist countries, when people revolt, it's because they're being overtaxed or they're hungry. I don't know. I just hope we are in debt. We are in debt. We owe China all our debt. And we don't have any money to be going and picking up another war. If China says, hey, money's due today, what's going to happen? Guys, just say a prayer for peace. Pray for peace. Pray for peace for Israel, for Iran, for the U.S., for everybody, because it's not going to be pretty. On that note, let me know in the comments. I just came on here real quick. I don't know if I'm going to do part 2 tomorrow. I don't know. Good luck. Let me know. Barrel oil, $75. Let's see how it goes.